Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to get rid of these ugly chrome door handles on my black Tahoe I just got. So I've already done a few things to it. I showed you in the last video, but today I'm going to show you kind of a step-by-step on replacing the door handles. So I got some black door handles from eBay. They're GM door handles painted to match the car. And let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start in the back by using I just got a small screwdriver. We're going to take this out, this piece out, and then we're going to pop this out. Get those out of the way so we can get access to the bolts. Alright, so once we got those out of the way, we have a couple 10mm bolts. There's one here, there's one here, and here. So take those out. Alright, so once we get those out, we're going to move on to pulling. There's actually only one right here instead of two, like I said. So 2 total. The next step was we're going to pull the panel off. We need a panel removal tool. So pop the panel off. It kind of slides up, and we're going to pull it out of the channel at the top of the window. So let's get that off. Alright, so this is the panel tool that I use. I just get underneath the edge of the panel and pry it loose. Once I get it loose a little bit, you can get your hands down behind it. So once that's off, you do need to unhook the door latch, which is right here. There's just a ball and a socket, and you swing it out of the way, and then of course unplug your wires for your window switch. Alright, so once we get the door panel off, there's 2 10mm bolts back here. You got to swing this plastic piece out of the way, or paper piece out of the way. There's a 10mm bolt there, and then you have to pop this plug out, and then you have access to the other 10mm hole. At that point, we'll be able to pull the handle out. Alright, so once we have those out, make sure you keep them separate from the ones that we took out of the door panel. The door panel ones are longer. And as you can see, if you try to put the door panel ones back in with the handle, you'll crack the handle. So make sure you keep those separate. And have a magnet around in case you drop one in the door. So now we're ready to take this off. So all you have to do is slide this forward. There's a little clip. You can see that clip right there. It hooks in the handle. You slide it forward and hook that out. And then you're going to hold this side down as you're trying to open it, and then you'll be able to thread it out of the way and unhook that rod. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and clean this, put a little bit of wax on it, and then I'm going to reverse this whole process, putting the new black handle back in, sliding. You need to hook the rod up, push it in, and then slide this back into that channel, that hook in the center, and then bolt it back up, and we're moving to the front door. Alright, moving on to the front door on the driver's side, we need to take a couple extra things off. There's going to be obviously more plugs to unplug because of the heated and cooled seats and your window switches for all 4 windows. But you need to take the lock off, the piece of plastic on the lock. You need to take that same trim piece out here and here to get to the 10mm bolts. And then this has 3 pieces that hold it on here. So that's kind of where you need to pry in the corners in order to pop that off, and then we'll get this door panel off and get started on this door. Alright, so once we have the door panel off, I like to pop the piece that holds all the switches out. It makes it easier to unplug these. So these are all unplugged, the panel's off, door handle's unhooked. We need to take this bottom piece out, which I've already done, and then you'll have access to the 2 10mm bolts that hold in the handle. So the next step will be to take those out and unhook the lock rod and the rod that goes to the door. Alright, I'm going to show you guys a little trouble I ran into. Somebody over tightened this and stripped this out, so I ended up having to pull it off. But anyway, so you can see how this goes together. You pull the lock rod off, which is here, and you pull this guy off that goes to the actual handle itself, and we're ready to swap it out for the new handle. One of the things we need to do before we put this new handle back in is we need to take the lock mechanism out. So it's really easy to do. There's a clip. You can see the ends of it here. We need to remove that clip, or at least move it up enough to get the lock out. And then the new one generally comes with the clip already in place, which mine did. So all we have to do is pop the lock out and make sure it's oriented the same direction so the end is pointing out, and snap that back in, and then we're ready to put the new handle in. Alright, so I cleaned off behind the handle, got the handle put on, and at the same time you're threading this in, you can hook up the lock rod and the push rod that goes to the actual latch itself. On my truck I wasn't able to do that. I had to hook it up inside the door, but on this I was able to thread it in while I hooked it up. So we just need to tighten this up. Make sure not to get them too tight so you don't strip them out, kind of like the one I took out was. And then we're ready to put the door panel back together. And then we're going to move on to the other side. I'm not going to show you guys that because it's just duplicating what we did on this side. A couple things to take note of though when you're putting this back together, make sure these things are lined up, because if they slide out of the way, you will have to take the door panel back off in order to line them up to get your bolts back together.